Okay, guys, welcome to our lecture today, Vocabulary for Ielts. As I've mentioned as an introduction, Vocabulary for Ielts is just a minor lecture, but coaches at 9.09er have added this lecture apart from the already existing 4 vocabulary lectures, Vocab 1 and 2, plus your vocabulary exams 3 and 4. So this will be the 5th lecture that discusses the vocabulary aspect of the exam. So where will vocabulary play? Actually, it plays a huge role in both your writing and speaking subtest, because in writing, your task response, coherence and cohesion, vocabulary and lexical resource, plus grammatical range and accuracy are assessed. And same goes with speaking. Now, in speaking, you have the fluency and cohesion, you have the pronunciation and delivery, and then you have the third one, vocabulary and lexical resource, and your grammatical range and accuracy. That's why at 9.09er, we have 5 lectures for vocabulary, including this one. Plus, in grammar, we have around 10 classes for it. We also have a similar idea. Same goes as vocabulary, a newly introduced lecture called Grammar for Ielts. And I highly encourage everyone to attend this lecture whenever you have the chance. I believe this is going to be added on my discussion next week. So next week, I'll be doing your Grammar for Ielts because you don't have any other choice. You only have me as your coach and lecturer. So we will be conducting the Grammar for Ielts next week. So that's it. That's just the introduction of what you will expect. This is a minor lecture, yet a very essential aspect of your preparation in your examination, since vocabulary is a very essential area in your English language, both in writing and speaking subtest. So now, I have a lot of general training students today, and I have roughly few academic. The problem when it comes to writing is always on the academic end. We know, you have variations in types of tasks that you will write. So please understand, GT, that there will be a lot of discussions that I will cover at the beginning, which will start right about now, okay? Okay, so which I will be discussing right about now. Well, for academic module, the first thing that many test takers will encounter is the type of writing tasks that they can encounter. So there are actually 8 types. You have the pie chart, line graph, bar graph, and table for static writing. And then you have your cycles, diagrams, flow charts, and maps in process writing. So in total, you have 8. Now, the problem is that depending on what type of task appears in your exam, the words that you will use will also vary. That is why, pasensya na po mga GT, you will not be making use of the following discussions I will present to you in your exam. But this will be useful sa inyo mga GT somewhere else. Hindi po sa task 1 nyo, but in other parts of your language. Kasi hindi lang naman sa writing task 1 ginagamit yung mga words, phrases, to be specific, the language itself, okay, entirely, kundi ginagamit din natin siya sa task 2. So it will be really useful for GT individuals to stay and listen, even though the target audience of my discussion at the beginning will mostly be for academic. So gusto ko lang i-explain na majority po ng aking i-discuss will cover the academic module. Explanation, brief discussion is mahirap ang kanilang task 1, mahirap ang variations, maraming ko-cover. So ito po yung magbibigay linaw ng mga tasks na yon, anong words yung pwede nilang gamitin, specific task involved. So let's say line graph, anong words yung pwede? pie chart, anong words yung pwede. But hindi ko sinasabi GT na walang pakinabang ito sa inyo. You can use the words, the phrases, the language in another area, particularly in task 2. So mamaya, maririnig nyo rin yan, na yung palang tinuturo dito ay magagamit ko rin sa writing task 2. Pero GT, just to give you the good news, okay? I want to be the bearer of good news. Your writing task 1, the module, general training, is only going to be letter writing. And it is the easiest thing in the world. It's the easiest thing. You don't need to worry about anything. All you need to do, GT, is to attend my general training letter writing lecture. Specifically para sa inyo lang po yun. So wag po kayo sana mag-isip na ano ba yan, ituturo pala sa first half, puro akad lang. Magagamit nyo rin po ito, GT. But GT, you have another class specifically designed for you that focuses on task 1. And to make matters even better, GT, gusto ko lang din sabihin na academic, they need to attend at least 7 until 8 lectures. Kasi meron pa akong writing task 1 major, which is apart from the 7 types of writing tasks that I will individually discuss for academic. Pero GT, ang a-attendan nyo lang na writing task 1 ay isa. Just to give you the good news. Just to tell you an even better news about this matter. So, we shall begin. Simulan natin dito kay introduction. Introduction is the part where many people struggle the most. The problem here is that people will encounter words in your task description. So let me just give you a reminder. Your task description is the collection of words that you will see at the top of your task. So may mga words dyan sa ibabaw, starting from you are recommended to spend 20 minutes on this task. At matatapos po siya sa write more than 150 words. So everything that covers this area until this part, ang tawag dyan sa buo na yan ay task description. That's just the general term that we refer to this part of your task. Now, in your task description, what you must avoid, okay, particularly academic, guys, listen carefully, all right, is to repeat words that are in the task description to your introduction. Tagalog, kasi matitigas ulo ng mga akad, ha? Yung mga salita na makikita mo sa task description, ano nga ulit yung task description? Yung sinabi ko ng mga words na makikita mo at the top of your task. Hindi mo na pwede siyang gamitin doon sa introduction mo. Bakit? Examiners will think na, oh, bakit inulit lang nung candidate na to yung word na nandun sa task description? Ibig sabihin ba nun, hindi siya resourceful? Lack ba yung kanyang vocabulary? Okay? Shallow ba yung kanyang resource? So bibigyan kanya ng low score sa vocabulary. Kasi classified na yon as repetition. So how to avoid that scenario from happening is that you need to look at the task description. You need to look and read task description. At the same time, you need to underline keyword. And from that, okay, you will hear this from me. Today, you will also hear this instruction from me in my discussion of the 7 to 8 lectures of writing task 1, provided that na ma-attendan mo lahat yon. Provide at least 4 to 6 new words from the task description into your introduction. Sa Tagalog, may mga salita na makikita ka sa task description, papalitan mo yung mga words na yon ng synonyms niya. So for instance, nakalagay kay task description, the line graph gives information. So because I need to change line graph, I need to change line graph into another word or phrase. Pwede ko siyang palitan ng the presentation, illustrates, data, palit ng information, on the daily commuters of United Kingdom. Example, kinulang pa ng E pala. Ang aking gives. Yan. That's it. So now, if you see the word illustration in your task description, so you can replace it with presentation. You can replace it with specific name. Pwedeng nakalagay, the presentation gives information on, a line graph siya. O the line graph gives information, gives data on. So you need to change the words from the task description into something else. So you will make yourself familiar. Ano ba yung mga words kadalasan nakikita natin sa task description? You have illustrations, you have maps, you have flow charts, you have process. Now for the static naman, you have line, bar, pie, and table. So you need to change them into something else. So kung nakita mo doon, nakalagay line graph, pwedeng palitan mo siya ng the illustration, the presentation. Diba? Ano pa yung mga common words that you will see in your task description, because you will be using these words to replace with these words later. Gagamitin mo yung mga words na nasa task description para palitan ng mga words na nandito. The problem is that many people don't know how to use these words properly. Dahil hindi lang naman po kasi basta-basta yung paggamit ng mga words na to. Meron po siyang proper use. And that is what I am going to teach now. Ito na yung una. Simulan natin. Kay number. Alright. GT, this is where you will also learn something. Okay, kanina kasi purely academic tayo. But this one, you can also use it in your task 2. Same goes with ACAD. ACAD, you will need this much more than GT will. Because you will not just be using this for your task 1, but you can also apply this for your task 2. So simulan natin kay number. If you, remember, if you will use the word number, it is not correct if it is not written like this. Sa madaling sabi, kung gagamit ka ng number, no word, to present a data set, hindi siya tama kung hindi ganito yung phrase. It should be the number of. The number of plus plural noun. Okay? The number of. Nakukuha po yan? The number of. For example, the number of visitors. The number of visitors. Okay? The number of visitors. Pwede mo rin siyang lagyan. The number of trees. Pwede rin the number of people. Pwede rin the number of children. Okay. Now, here's the thing. If you will be using, makinig mabuti ha. If you will be using, takpan ko lang muna ito. If you will be using, paulit-ulit si sir. Sir, paulit-ulit ka. Lang pakialam sa opinion mo. Ano? Alright. If you will be using the number of, dapat lagi siyang may kasamang plural noun. Binigay ko na example. Pwedeng the number of trees. Yan, copy-paste ko na para mabilis. Okay. Trees, chairs, people. Okay. That's it. That's how you should write this phrase. Some of you will ask, Sir, ano po ba ang dapat ilagay namin dyan? Is or are? The number of trees is or the number of trees are? Actually, guys, take a look at this. Ang ginamit natin na article is the. And because the is what we call a definite article, gagamitin mo si is. The number of trees is. Nakukuha? Eh sir, bakit may nakita po akong number of tapos plural and then are po yung ginamit? Perhaps this is what you saw. Instead of seeing the number of, ang nakita mo, a number of people are. Napalitan yung article na the with a. Nagigets yan? Academic, why are we very specific about this? Dahil if you will encounter bar graphs or table where itong phrase na the number at saka a number ay magagamit mo, Pag hindi tama yung paggamit mo sa phrase at namali ka pa ng paggamit ng is or are, dalawa yung problem mo. May vocabulary, deduction ka na. May grammar, point deduction ka pa. So we don't want to miss the opportunity to write this correctly. Alright? So, basta ang laging tatandaan, the number of, yun yung complete phrase, and it must be added together with a plural noun. Ang plural noun, napakadali. Diba? Most of the nouns, lalagyan mo lang ng S or ES. Like yung B, magiging Bs. Computer, magiging computers. Diba? May mga ilang cases. For example, knife, change F to V and add ES. Diba? Or fly, change Y to I and add ES. So yung fly na langaw and then marami flies. Okay, that's how you do it. So yun yung idadagdag mo together with the phrase, the number of, plural noun. Okay. Now, may question ba? Anyone? May tanong po ba tayo? Sir, GT po ako. Sabi mo magagamit ko yan. Parang napaka-technical naman po ng phrase na yan. Well, actually, magagamit mo siya sa iyong writing task 2. Halimbawa, nagdi-discuss ka. Gusto mong sabihin dyan, maraming mga migrants. So you can write the phrase, the number of migrants is continuously increasing. Ang topic mo is about migration. So, pwede mong gamitin yung term na yan. Okay? So, since wala pong nag-a-ask ng question, let me continue para mabilis tayo. Marami pa akong kailangan i-cover. Amount and quantity. Previously, we used the plural noun together with the phrase, the number of. Now, it's very simple to understand. Yung plural noun kasi, nakakategorize yan into countable noun. We can count it physically. Okay? Countable noun, yan yung mga nabibilang mo per piece. So, concrete noun din yan, ang tawag natin dyan. Now, in non-count noun na tinatawag, constantly lagi siyang singular. Non-count noun. Okay? So, may dalawang uri ng non-count noun. Doon sa concrete version niya, alright, papasok dyan yung mga physically impossible to count. Tulad ng mga nouns na nasa liquid form or powder form. Yan. Papaliwanag ko rin yan kung para saan ito. Now, meron pang isang uri ng non-count noun. Yun naman yung abstract. Tulad ng hunger, poverty, hindi nabibilang yan. Yan. Intelligence, freedom. Okay, wala kasi silang physical manifestation. So kaya refer sa kanila abstract noun. Love, hate, ayan. Freedom, vigilance, poverty, intelligence, yan. Yan yung mga types of non-count noun. Now, dito tayo mag-focus sa concrete kasi ito yung madalas mong may encounter sa task mo. So ano ba yung mga powder form na yan? Ano ba yung mga liquid form? Pumunta ka sa kusina, napakadami, 'di ba? Andyan yung kape, andyan yung gatas, 'di ba? Oil, butter. Yan. So now, ito yung concern sa tinatawag nating non-count noun kasi meron pang isang type of noun apart from the concrete and abstract, si collective noun. Isang uri din yan ng noun. Ano? So kay collective noun, ang idea sa kanya, you can regard this as either singular or plural. Okay, tandaan na, in collective nouns, you can either regard this as singular or plural. Bigyan kayo ng example, okay? The Senate has imposed its decision to bring back capital punishment. The Senate are debating amongst themselves who should be the one liable. Parehong word na ginamit. Yung isa, the Senate, singular, kasi has. Okay, yung isa naman, the Senate, sir, wala naman lang siyang nilagay na S, pero are. Okay? Because there is an interaction within the members. So yun yung rule natin for collective noun. So ano lang ba yung pwede mong gamitan ng amount, ng quantity? Yun lang mga uncountable noun. Yung mga nalista natin. Yung abstract noun, yung non-count noun na nasa powder and liquid form, tulad ng butter, water, coffee, sugar, ayan. So the amount of sugar, the quantity of salt, the amount of respect, the quantity of freedom. So yun lang po ang pwedeng gamitin. Alright. And never mo siyang ginagamit sa countable noun like the amount of person at saka the amount of people. You don't use it with countable noun. Na you can count na may singular at saka plural. No, the amount of bee, the amount of bees, the amount of computer, the amount of computers, hindi po siya pwede. Pwede lang siya sa non-count, tulad ng abstract, the amount of freedom, the quantity of respect, the amount of love. Pwede rin po siya sa mga powder liquid form na nouns na fix ang kanilang singularity, the amount of butter, the amount of salt, the quantity of sugar. Okay, that's how you use the amount and quantity. All right, questions po, wala naman? Guys, we are 25 minutes into the lecture and we are only down with 3 slides. 3 slides pa lang tayo, ganyan pong kahaba. Words pa lang ang pinag-uusapan natin, ha? Alright, ilang slides ba to? 78. Diba? Grabe, okay. So, handaan nyo mga sarili nyo. By the way, guys, for those of you who just attended the lecture, this is your first time attending the lecture, you don't need to worry about taking screenshots or writing down notes because I will be sharing the copy of this as PDF po once I upload the replay of this lecture. Para dun sa mga working at saka may different time slots ng examination at saka review. So, ipipresent din natin sa kanila ito through replay, and at the same time, you will also get lahat ng nandito into PDF. So, you don't need to copy or take screenshots. Just need to relax and absorb all the learnings of today's discussion. So, let us continue. We're done with number, we're done with amount, quantity. Now, let's talk about proportion. Proportion, this is very useful. This is very useful in pie charts, bar graphs, even line graphs. Okay? If you're describing percentages, kung hindi siya cardinal numbers. So pag sabing percentage, napakasimple. May ganyan na symbol. Alright? So pwede mong gamitin yung proportion doon. The proportion of, remember, dapat plural noun din siya. The proportion of attendees, the proportion of doors, the proportion of students. Now figure, this one guys, if you're having problems remembering when and how to use the words that I have just discussed, because obviously hapon medyo nahihirapan yung ibang magtumanda, ano? This one is the most useful word, okay, for academic writing, the figure for. And remember, when you use the word figure, kailangan present tense the, present tense for. To complete the trio, the figure for. At pwede mo siyang gamitin sa plural noun, pwede mo siyang gamitin sa uncountable noun, pwede mo siyang gamitin sa countries, pwede mo siyang gamitin sa percentages. You can use it virtually in any situation. Tingnan natin yung mga sample. The figure for visitors, plural. The figure for unemployment, singular. Countries, the figure for Canada. The figure for Canadian smokers. Percentage. The figure for male convicts rose to 10%. The figure for can literally be used in any situation that you can think of. So pag medyo nauubusan ka na ng word sa statistical report mo, gamitin mo tong si figure. Okay, next up, ratio. Ratio, if you are trying to show relationship, this is the most useful application of the word ratio. You use it to show relationship. Relationship in what? In quantity, in the amount, in the size between two or more things. Example natin ha, meron tayong 9 students for every teacher. So in this case, you can come up with a sentence like this. The ratio of students to teachers in the school is 9:1. Okay? So for example, the ratio of fertilizer use to, okay, the ratio of fertilizer use to fruit harvested is indirect. Ibig sabihin nun, they are opposite. Pwede mo ring gamitin yan in cases like those ideas, most specifically para sa mga overview. O kung natatandaan nyo yung line graph ko, academic, meron tayo ditong line graph ng fertilizer. So ito yung graph, example lang ito ha, ito yung graph ng fruit harvested, ganyan yung itsura niya. Ito naman yung fertilizer use. So pwede kong gamitin si ratio kasi may relationship siya. Ang relationship niya is inversely proportional. Ibig sabihin ng inversely proportional, tumataas yung isa, bumababa naman yung isa. So pwede kong gamitin yan as a sentence. Data. Guys, be careful with this word ha. Data is the word that I want you to be careful about. Karamihan kasi sa mga students, ang ginagawa, the data is, the data are. Ngayon, data is both regarded as either singular or plural. Nagigets yan? Parang yung binigay ko sa inyo kaninang example na Senate. Pwede siyang singular, pwede siyang plural. Pero nakadepende pa rin yon sa context. Ano ba yung punto ng sentence mo? Ngayon, yung sentence ko kanina, yung Senate, it's one unit. Nakalagay doon, the Senate has imposed its decision. Silang lahat nagkasundo, one unified force, one unit. Nagdesisyon sila. Boom. Balik natin ang capital punishment. That's a sentence Senate has. Now, the Senate are debating amongst themselves. The question is there an interaction between the members of the group? The answer is yes. So the Senate are. That is correct. Now, the problem with the data, kung gagamitin mo kasi siya sa umpisa ng sentence mo, wala ka pang context kung yun ba ay singular o plural. So to avoid problems that will exist eventually, to avoid problems that will appear when examiners check your work, yung data, okay, ika-caps lock ko, do not use it as a subject. Hindi ko sinasabing bawal po ang salitang data. All I'm trying to say here is that do not use it as a subject, use it instead, okay? Use it as a verbal direct object. Gamitin mo siya as the object of the sentence. Okay? So sa sentence structure natin, subject muna, tapos verb, tapos object. So for example, I ate the pizza. I, that is the subject. Ate, that is the verb. The pizza is the receiver, the object in the sentence. So yung data, pwede po siyang gamitin as the object, but not as a subject. Sir, can you give me an example? Ito yung dapat hindi mo gamitin, the data shows or show, kasi mamamali ka dyan. Okay? Ano ba ang tama kong gamitin? Shows or show. Examiners din malilito. Imamali nila automatically. So it should be the graph muna. Tingnan nyo, andun pa rin yung shows, but yung data, hinilagay ko on the third or fourth word of my first sentence. So sa madaling sabi, si data, wag lang siya mauuna, ilagay mo siya after the verb. Yun lang po ang aking request para malimit natin yung error. Okay? Mabawasan yung chances na magkamali sa grammar and sa vocabulary. Now, what are the verbs naman po? So sir, if we were referring to the words na pwede po namin gamitin, no? Sa subject, what are the words naman po that we can use as a verb? So the illustration, the presentation, the map, the line graph, the bar graph, yun yung mga unang word. So syempre meron siyang mga word after at yun na nga po yung verb. So pwedeng the line graph shows, pwedeng the presentation illustrates, pwedeng the illustration presents, pwedeng the map gives information on, the line graph provides data about. So ang ayaw lang po ng mga examiner, tingnan ha, tingnan. Ayaw lang ng mga examiner yung mga words na nagsisimula sa de, at re. Okay, meron ako hindi naguhitan dyan kanina. Ito, si describes. Sir, bakit po? Eh, gusto nila eh. Gusto nila na wag nang gamitin yung de. So, hindi na natin gagamitin. Ganun lang kasimple. We always aim to give the examiner what they are looking for. Ibibigay natin kung ano yung gusto nila. Isang beses lang ikaw mag-exam. Isang take lang to. Ibigay mo na lahat ng gusto nilang makita sa examination. Huwag mo nang ipilit yung sayo. Kasi hindi magbabago yung kanilang assessment. Hindi sila magbababa ng evaluation level nila para makapag-submit sila sa gusto mo. Ang gusto nila ang masusunod. Dahil pag di nasunod ang gusto nila, ibabagsakan nila. Ganun lang kasimple. I am very particular na gamitin yung mga words na nandito sa baba. Kasi 3-word combination yan eh. Diba? Gives information on, presents information about, shows data about, yon, pwedeng gamitin. Gives data on, ayan. Presents information on, so pwede mong gamitin yon as your introductory verb phrase. All right? So sir, bakit ayaw din ng examiners ng represent? Ganito kasi guys, I'm not saying that represent is a word that you must avoid at all costs. All I'm trying to say is that you need to use the word represents in its proper location. Si represents kasi may paglalagyan yan. When you say represent, it means what it stands for. Kaya nga represent eh. Ang nagre-representa. Okay, what it stands for. So it presents what? It presents detail. So saan ba natin nilalagay ang detail? Sa paragraph na tinatawag nating specific detail. SD. So doon mo siya ilalagay sa third and fourth. So hindi dapat makita ang word na represent sa introduction dahil si introduction, ang gamit daw dapat na word dyan, general. So ano ba yung general? Si present. General information. So si present, introduction, malinaw tayo dyan ha. Si represent, sa detail. All right. Next up, time expressions. So you will not also hide from the fact that in your examination, you will be using time expression. It is also very important na tayo ay nag-conduct din most recently ng ating preposition. Okay, in, on, at, if you guys can still remember. Last week? Oh, last week. In, on, at, from, yan, from, to, during, between, and yan. So we have tackled the different expressions of time and how you can use it following the rules of grammar. So hindi mo lang naman gagamitin yung time expression sa static writing, pati guys sa process writing ha, meron tayong map na nagko-compare ng tatlong iba't ibang time. So you have, for example, a map of 1965, tapos map of 1983, tapos map ng present. So obviously, you have varying time expressions. You will also be using various tenses. So yung dalawa na to, gagamit ka ng simple past tense. Dito naman sa present, gagamit ka naman ng simple present. Kaya I always tell my students, why will you be using expressions na may has and have? For example, have presented, di ba? Have achieved. Bakit ko ba gamit ka niyan? Eh, ang have plus past participle, this is present perfect tense. So it shows yes, past, pero hindi siya nag-indicate ng time expression. For example, I have eaten the leftover pizza. Ngayon, tama ito na expression, I have eaten the leftover pizza because wala akong in-indicate na time. All it means is that it is done. Is done in the past without specific time expression. Eh, may time expression eh, kaya hindi pwedeng gamitin yan. Diba? So, paano mo ngayon gagamitin ang tama na may time expression ka, halimbawa, I ate the leftover pizza last night. Yan yung may tama. Kasi may last night ka. So yun yung time expression mo. So yung ate, simple past ang ginamit mo na tense. So grammar 3 po ang tenses natin. So sa mga kasalukuyan nag-review, marami pa pong time para maabutan niyan. Nasa grammar 7 na tayo. Grammar for Ielts na naman, then grammar exam, then balik tayo grammar 1, 2, and 3. Perhaps by the end of May, grammar 3, pako-cover na natin ulit yan live. Okay. So, now, ito yung gusto ko maging careful kayo. Kasi ang dami ko din nakikita eh. No? Itong from 2001 to 2010. Tapos yung iba, between 1965 and 1969. Alright? Tandaan po yung words, may mga kapartner yan. Tulad ng from at saka to. Okay? Yung iba naman, tulad yan, yung between at saka si end. Ang ginagawa kasi nung iba, from tapos end. Or between at saka to. Tandaan guys anumang pinagsama ng Diyos ay hindi maaaring paghiwalay ni numan. So dapat yung from, ang kapartner niya si to. Si between, ang kasama niya ay si end. Alright. So yung pagpapalitin yon. Alright, so ito guys yung mga sample time expression. So make sure that you will be using the proper preposition. Up verbs. So this is the problem that most people also encounter, particularly when they describe an increase on a variable. For example, line graph. Pwede rin siya sa pie chart. Okay, pakita ko lang muna. Drawing tayo ng gusto ko ng pie chart. Yan. So here I have a pie chart of 1985 and here I have a pie chart of 2010. So in this pie chart, gamit tayo ng orange. Yan. Ito naman ay blue. Yan. Example lang to guys. Okay. 15 ito, 15%. Tapos ito naman 85. Let's say coal. Dito naman, gamitin ko naman yung orange. Kabaliktad, 15% si pumangit. Diretsuhin natin. 15% na si coal. Tapos naging 85 si nuclear. So syempre, gagamit ka ng word para sa increase. Kasi nakita mo may pagtaas. So yung 15% niya kanina na nuclear use for power source in the US, for example, it became 85% after 25 years. And then coal decreased from 85 to 15%. Now, pie chart ito, pero ginamitan natin ng words na increase at saka ng decrease. Ganon din guys sa bar graph. And obviously, ganon din yung i-expect mo sa table. But where should you expect it the most? Expect mo siya sa line graph. Ang line graph kasi, nagpapakita yan ng changes in data sets over time. That is what line graphs are most useful in describing a data set. Gusto niyang ipakita yung pagtaas, pagbaba, pagbabago o hindi pagbabago ng isang data. Alright? So obviously, if there will be situations where you need to use words that means increase, isipin ng examiner, sa taong kong nagtuturo, sa taong kong nag-check ng exam, puro increase na lang ang nakikita ko. Puro decrease na lang ang nakikita ko. Wala bang iba na same word, same context, but different use? So, ibig sabihin, kailangan mo gumamit ng word na similar yung ibig sabihin sa increase, pero iba naman. Di ba? So, you will have an option to choose from. Ayan, soar. It means to increase to a high level in a very short time. Let's say from 15, it soared to 85%. So pwede mong gamitin si soar sa case na to. Soar is probably a more extreme term than rapid increase or steep increase. So if you want kasi sabi mo increase, masyadong vague. Gaano kabilis yung pag-increase niya? Rapid ba? Gradual ba? Slowly ba? Slowly increasing, rapidly increasing, gradually increasing. Now, you have also the word rocket. They are very strong words. So yung soar at saka rocket, you don't need to qualify them with adverbs anymore. Hindi mo na guys kailangan lagyan ito ng modifier. There's no need for rapid, steep, gradual anymore because soar and rocket in a statistical standpoint, they mean large rises, malaking pagtaas. So hindi mo na siya dapat lagyan ng suddenly, ng rapidly. You don't need to quantify them anymore with those adverbs. Now, what else? Sir, sabay-sabay kami mag-i-exam. 40 students po, mag-i-exam kami sa May. Okay? May 12. So, kung pare-parehas kami na gagamitin, let's say, si examinee, letter A, okay, gagamitin niya daw si soar. Si B naman, gagamitin niya si rocket. Si C, soar na naman, di ba? So, ibig sabihin, it beats the purpose na gusto nating mag-iba ng word in a statistical standpoint, but pare-parehas lang din kayo ng gagamitin. So, examiners will also see that as something na nakakasawa pa rin tingnan. So, meron pang mga ibang options, don't worry. Meron ka ditong word like leap, all right? You have the word climb. Now, si leap, this is also a word that shows a large and sudden rise. And you probably do not need to qualify it with an adverb or a modifier in that case. So, the prices leapt to 90% in 1 year. Pwede mong gamitin si leap. So, sir, bakit leapt? That is the past form of leap. Okay, so let's say ito ay 1985 na figure. So, leapt is the proper term to use. Now, si climb kasi is a relatively neutral verb. It means tumaas, pero yung pagtaas niya, hindi siya ganun kalaki, hindi siya ganun ka inconsiderable. No? Ibig sabihin, may pagtaas pa rin na nakita, pero hindi siya kalakihan, hindi siya ganun kababaan. Sakto lang. No? So, let's say, from 800,000, naging siyang 1 million. So, I will be using climb lang sa ganong increase. That's neutral. May tumaas, pero hindi naman napakalaki, hindi naman napakababa. May tumaas pa rin. It's still important to point out. So climb is the word that I will be using for that matter. Now, surge means to rise suddenly. Isa pa itong pwedeng pamalit kay leap. Pwede rin natin gamitin to kay task 2. Task 2 ha. A surge in migration is seen in November, or a surge in migration is happening all around the world. Pwede mong gamitin yan sa task 2, GT, okay? So useful pa rin po si surge sa ibang cases. So sir, we were referring to the words that means increase. Lines that points up. Figures that show an increment. What about those figures, those data sets that presents pababa? Okay, so pwede pong gamitin itong si slip back. But again guys, si slip back, this is a type of phrase that you need to be careful using. Okay, so bigyan ko kayo ng example dito. Bakit kailangan careful tayo kay slip back? Okay, so maglagay lang ako dito ng months. Alright, January, Feb, Jan na lang, Jan, Feb, March, April, May. Kaya ko. Sample lang. Yan. Dito naman, we have 75, 50, 25, and then 0. Ayun. So now, ito guys yung sabi, electricity use, yung ating line graph here. And I'm going to draw something. Red para madaling makita. Ano? Gawin natin green. Ano? Alright. In January, it began at 25. Ayan siya. Nag-soar sa 75. And then it stayed there. Okay. Ng March. Tapos April. And then it slipped back to 50 units. January 25, February 50. Tapos nag-stay siya sa 50 hanggang March. It increased to 75 before it slipped back to 50 units in May. So nakita po ba yung paggamit natin ng slip back? Eto ho. Yan si slip back. Si slip back, bumalik. Ano ba sila ninang? Lalo. Tutulog? Tinan mo, natutulog. Ayun. So, you see it here that the units, eto ha, nasa 50 siya. Okay, it's 50 units ng March. Tumaas sa April, 75, but it returned to 50 ng May. So, bumalik siya sa dati. O, bumalik siya doon sa mababa. Bumalik sa palpak. Yan. Kayo ba guys, babalik pa ba kayo? Pag nakipagbalikan siya? O di na? Babalik pa ba kayo dun sa luma? Na pinasakitan lang kayo? Di ba? Slip back? Are you going to slip back? So, of course not. You shouldn't do that. Sabi ni Diosdado, di na po, sir. Ayo. May hugot si Sir Diosdado. That's slip back, guys, ha? So, you need to be careful in using slip back. Kaya nga nag-drawing pa ako dyan so that you guys will remember that it means it returned. May pagbalik. Now, sir, what about the regular decrease lang po? So, si drop at saka si dip, they are used for fairly small decrease. Let's say from 85, naging 79, and then naging 75, tapos pwede naging 73. Yeah, maliliit lang yan. Dip, drop, pwede na yan. Sir, what about if there are fairly large decreases? So we have two strong words to use in such scenarios. Number one is plummet, and the other is plunge. Once again, plummet and plunge are the words which are counterparts of your soar and rocket. So do not qualify them with an adverb. Hindi mo na siya lalagyan ng plummet strongly or plunge deeply or plummeted quickly or plunged extremely. So hindi mo na siya lalagyan ng mga adverb words. Sila na on their own are distinguished as fall, that means very quickly, and it comes a long way. Example, the number of tourists to the city plummets after September with 85% decline. On malaki-laki yun. Diba? 85% ang binaba. The number of students plunged from 1,400 to 150 during lockdown season. Diba? Ang laki ng ibinaba. Almost 9 times. So, dun ginagamit si plunge, dun ginagamit si plummet. Of course, If it is in the past form, use plummeted. If it is in the past form, use plunged. Most specifically, if you have time expressions. Future forms. So, sir, I have seen a pie chart na ganito po eh. Ito po halimbawa lang. Pakita lang natin sa iba. Kasi i-discuss ko din naman to, don't worry. Sige, bar graph pala para mas madali. Bar graph. Drawing ako ng bar graph. Yan. Ito yung population ng 1900s, population ng 2000s, tapos population ng 2100. World population. Ano ulit, sir? 1900, 2000, at saka 2100. Ayan, population po. So, obviously, si 2100 ay hindi pa nagaganap. Di ba? So, anong gagawin ko dyan? For example, ito ay 3 billion, 3B, tapos ito ay 7B. Ito naman ay 12B. So obviously, 2100 is something that has not happened yet. So what are you going to use for future forms? Pag gumamit ka ng mga will, is likely, you are making an assumption. And an assumption is not very statistical, it's not very academic in nature. So making assumptions, hindi siya statistical, hindi siya academic, so avoid using will likely, is likely, is going to be, okay? So do not use them. So instead, use this phrase po, all right? It is expected that by the year 2100, the figure, ginamit ko yung tinuro ko ha, the figure for world population will, okay, leap to 12 billion. It is expected. Sir, marami po kami magte-take ng exam. May mga words po ba kaming pwedeng gamitin except po kay expected? It is anticipated that by the year 2100, the figure for world population will leap to 12 billion. Or pwede mo ring palitan yung sentence structure entirely. Okay? The figure for world population is expected to reach 12 billion by the year 2100. The figure for world population is expected to reach 12 billion by the year 2100. So pwede mo rin gamitin yung sentence structure na yan. So in that way, not only you are being resourceful in the use of words, you're also intellectually choosing the proper sentence structure. At bukod po doon sa mga reach, expected that, ito pa po yung mga pwede natin gamitin na words. Okay, sabi nga ni Mark Ian, pwede bang gamitin si projected? Okay, we have predicted, expected, anticipated, forecasted, estimated, at idadagdag na natin si projected. Thanks for contributing. This word is also going to be helpful, okay, in the variations of your words. Mark Ian, salamat. So, that's it. Those are the words that you can use for your future tenses. Okay? So, nasa inyo na po yung copy niyan later after I upload the replay. So, you don't have to bother copying the words here plus yung projected ni Sir Mark Ian. So, we can also make a sentence by using this, the comparison of the farm harvest and fertilizer utilization, the comparison between fruit harvested and fertilizer usage, the differences between male and female candidates, the changes in electricity use for United Kingdom, the number of people working night shifts, information on. So you have a lot of phrases to use. Diba? Noun plus preposition. Verb plus preposition. This year, unemployment has increased by 20,000 cases. The difference between this year and last year is 20,000. And this year, there has been an increase in unemployment of 5%. Notice the prepositions we use to increase by with the verb and an increase of with the noun. Isa pang useful is yung by at saka to. Saan yun? Eto. January, 43%. February, 63%. So you can use a sentence like this. Okay, by February, supplement use increased by 20%. Pwede rin naman si teka lang. Okay, now I want you guys to look at the different sentences I typed here below the figures January and February. Gamit ako dito ng yellow highlighter, ha? So kay January, 43% yung supplement use. And by February, it is at 63% level. Notice, ginamit ko yung by dito. By February, supplement use increased by. So si by, we use it for the difference. Okay, tingnan mabuti. We use it for the difference. Yung pinagkaiba po. Anong pinagkaiba ng 43 at saka 63? If you will subtract 63 and 43, you have a difference of 20%. So therefore, pasok yung 20% na to dyan. Now, because 63% is your new figure, 2 naman yung gagamitin. Increase 2. So yun yung difference po ng paggamit ng by at saka paggamit ng 2. I just want to highlight that one. Any question with regard to that information? O may nalilito po? You guys have any questions sa information po na yun? I'm looking at the chat ha kung may tanong. Tulog na ata yung mga estudyante ko. Diyos ko, mga estudyante ko, nangyari sa inyo. Alright, thank you for chatting none, Sir Yula. Buti pa si Yula, masagot. Alright. So here are some examples para sa line graph, bar graph, pie chart, table na line graph yung approach. So increase, decrease, leveled out, remained stable, remained steady, stayed constant. Ito po yung mga phrases na ginagamit natin. Okay, to show. Kailangan yung aking mouse. Nagloloko. To show that the figure did not change. Okay. Si peak stood, reach a peak off, reach a plateau. Para naman sa taas at saka baba. Time expressions in the body paragraph, pwedeng-pwede rin yan. Just make sure you will be using the correct terms. Writing about the process, the most important thing about process will be the steps. Yan. So, syempre, kung yung process mo, hindi naman siya closed cycle, pwede kang gumamit ng mga ganitong introductory statements like, in the first stage is when. The process begins, starts, commences when. The process begins with. For example, paggawa ng lapis, first is imimix natin yung ground graphite, water, at saka clay. So pwedeng gamitin ko yung sentence na to. The process begins when ground graphite, clay, and water are mixed together to form graphite dough. Afterwards, the graphite dough will be trimmed to produce graphite rods. These rods are then placed inside the oven with 780 degrees centigrade of temperature. That will be added to the production cases of the pencils later. Gumagamit tayo ng mga words na ganun. Tulad na to. Then, next, after this, after that, following this is followed by, all right? Anong pinaka-paborito ko? Ito guys, ang pinaka-paborito ko. Alam, dolo ko ang aking mouse. Pinaka-paborito ko ito. Once this step is complete. Yan. Once this step is complete, the pencils are then transported by a truck. Dami oh, ilang words yan. Once this step is complete. 5. Agad yan. Dadagdagan mo pa ng this is followed by. So use proper connecting devices ha, especially sa mga processes. O kung meron kang last stage, pwede mong gamitin to. Finally, ultimately, eventually, the last stage is when, the final stage is when, the process ends with. Pwede mo rin gamitin yan. Useful phrases ito guys ha, para sa ating processes. Kalikot mo. Describing positions and locations sa map. So map is also a very common IELTS writing task 1 question. All right. So sir, how often do maps appear in the exam? So si map po, si map, most common process. Si table naman, siya naman yung most common static. So sir, gaano kadalas lumabas ang static sa exam? Gaano kadalas ang process? 50-50% chance. So there is a very high percentage of you encountering either the map or the table dahil sila yung pinaka-common na process, pinaka-common na static. So you need to be aware, you need to be prepared. Yun lang ang gusto kong i-highlight dito. All right? So in maps, what is our goal in dealing with describing your map statistically? The most important would be the position and location. So there will be amenities po sa map. For instance, you have housing, you have the school, you have church, you have a playground in your map, you have a business park. So, kailangan mo maglagay guys ng mga description for the position. For example, in this first bullet point, di ko magamit yung kanang kamay ko, wait lang. Ito, lalagay natin dyan. The school is situated on the northern area of the city. The school is positioned next to the convenience store, o, diba? So it gives you a presentation of where the location of something is and where it is positioned. So that is why gagamit ka ng mga ganitong phrases to describe positions and locations in the map. So not only the primary and secondary directions, pwede ka rin gumamit ng middle, in the center, on the side, along the. Okay, what else? Marami pa guys. Well, map nga yung pinaka-common. Don't worry academic, meron tayong discussion specifically for that. So, ito pa, at the center, along, off, across, opposite, close to, adjacent, katapat. Yes, Gray, you raised your hand. What is it? What's your question?
Dito kung doon sa task 1 natin with regard doon sa yung last activity namin doon sa for example line graph po magkakaroon tayo ng comparison. Tinuro nyo sa kailangan tignan namin ano yung pinakamataas, ano yung pinakamababa, and then yun yung gagawa namin ng essay. Dito sa map, may ganun din po ba tayo?
Actually, sa map, meron kasing two types of maps eh. The one type would be changes in the map. Like what I've explained previously, merong map na nagpapakita ng version niya ng 1963, may magpapakita ng version niya ng 1985, and magpapakita ng version ng present. So if you can understand the scenario, the goal there is to discuss, to describe what are the changes that have occurred in those timelines. Anong naidagdag, anong naibawas, anong naialis, anong napalitan. Now, yung isang type of map is where you have to choose between locations of future plan. Let's say, ito yung aking map. Gagawa ako dito ng circle. Yan, map. And then, this is, pangalan natin dito is si A. Dito naman is si B. Yan. So, A. Gawin kong black. Yan. Mamimili ka, ano yung best na site para sa supermarket? So, magbibigay ka ngayon ng amenities na malapit sa kanila. For example, sa area na to, meron ditong supermarket, meron ditong train station, tapos meron ditong university, dito naman malapit siya sa kalsada, malapit siya sa train station. I-discuss mo yon. Now, I will be discussing what are the ways to describe them properly during the lecture. Kasi ang di-discuss talaga natin ngayong Gray is yung mga words na pwede nyong gamitin sa inyong task 1. Words that will be useful in your task 1. So I just want you to distinguish that there are multiple types of maps, there are multiple types of processes, there are multiple types of static writing, line graph, bar graph, pie chart, table. And because of the variations that they have, because of the distinctions they offer from one another, gagamit ka rin ng ibang language. So if ang target mo sa map is makapagbigay ng amenities na malapit sa kanya, o useful itong opposite.
Okay.
Useful itong adjacent to. For example, site B is surrounded by the industrial area and it is next to the university where it will be convenient for people to travel to and from the supermarket. However, the advantage of site A is that it is close to the main road and adjacent to the railway. Ganun yung magiging discussion mo dyan. So kaya dinidiscuss ko na ito in advance because magagamit nyo ito pag dumating na tayo sa map making.
Thank you po.
Okay, would that be all? Great.
Thank you.
Okay. So useful vocabularies for describing your map. Since you will encounter some amenities sa map, hindi lang po dun sa changes, hindi lang po doon sa maps that present the comparison of which location is the best suitable for a particular supermarket man yan or isa man tong sports complex. Napaka-common kasi ng mga ganyan. So you need to present the locations of the following. Hanapin mo yung residential area. Usually naman may legends. No? May nakalagay dyan. Ito, bahay. O yun yung residential area. Yung kulay blue. O yan yung commercial area. Yung kulay green na nakapalibot after the color blue. Yun naman yung woodland. Diba? So you need to look at where these are because they will be useful in your presentation later. So change, ito yung mga words na pwede mong gamitin sa changes sa map. For example, yung school, pinalitan, ginawa na siyang hotel. So the school was modified into a hotel. The hotel was changed into a hospital. So yan. Relocate, inilipat. For example, dati nasa east itong school. In 1985, itong school ay nilagay na sa north. Malapit dito sa church. It was relocated on the northern section of Pellington City. Sir, giniba lang siya talaga. Walang ipinalit, walang inilipat. Demolished, destroyed, removed, replaced, pinalitan, expand. O dati yung church, ito yung size niya. Tapos naging na siyang cathedral ngayon. Lagay sa legend. So it expanded, di ba? It turned into, for example, the church in 1963 was turned into a cathedral by 1979. Transitions. You will also show contrast in your sentences, particularly in static writing. Bigyan natin ito ng example. So this example is the Middle East produces high levels of oil. Tapos Japan naman produces none. So I can come up with a sentence like this. The Middle East produces high levels of oil. However, Japan produces none. Notice that the word however is categorized as a subordinating conjunction. Therefore, it will require a semicolon before and a comma later. Without either punctuations, you will experience setbacks in your grammar and would definitely be given a demerit. So, kailangan maging careful kayo dyan. Pwede rin pong gamitin yung however. What I suggest is that you need to use the word however at the beginning of a new sentence. Pwede kasing magtuldo ka na dito after the oil. Okay, after oil, you can just put a period there and then capitalize the letter H of however and then comma. So the number of male smokers in 2000 stood at 20% compared to 15% of the female population. Compared to. So because you're making, you're showing contrast. All right. The most popular form of holiday among the Welsh was self-catering with over 60% choosing to cook for themselves. In contrast, all right, in contrast, only 5% of the English chose this form of vacation and hotel accommodation was much more popular at 48%. This is the goal for bar graph because the idea for bar graph is that you need to make comparisons in pie chart as well. You need to compare and contrast the different variables. So obviously this is going to be very helpful. In contrast, in comparison, as compared to, however, so you can use the following phrases to save you a day's worth of excessive thinking. Subordinating conjunction, si while, this is a word that I do not normally recommend people to use at the beginning. Because take a look at this. Bigay ako ng example ha. While I was cooking dinner, diba? Most of the people will think na dapat tapusin na yung sentence doon. But they will forget what we call the main clause. Kasi si while is just the subordinating clause. So dapat may kasunod pa. While I was making dinner, comma, my mom was washing the dishes. Last night while I was cooking dinner, so while, so that's why ang nirecommend ko si while ilagay mo sa gitna. It means that while is in the middle, there is already an independent clause at the beginning. So either way, magtapos ka man doon sa sentence mo kasama yung while, finish na yung sentence. Meron siyang complete thought. So ang mas tama is the Middle East produces high levels of oil while Japan produces none. Pwede ring whereas, as if you want to replace while with another term. So if you can see on this second sample right here, whereas the Middle East produces high levels of oil, comma, Japan produces none. Pag wala itong Japan produces none, the sentence becomes invalid and it's not going to be a complete sentence. Therefore, it is going to be a grammatical flaw. Although the Middle East produced 100 tons of oil, Japan produced none. So use the word although in this scenario, similar to the use of while and in contrast. So pwede rin pong gamitin yan. Showing similarities. Sir, there is a pie chart that I encountered. Yun pong jeans, halimbawa ito ha, 24% po ng population nagsusuot niyan. Tapos jacket, similar. 24% din. So mali yung mga gumagamit ng sentence na ganito. Jeans and jacket are tied. Ano ba ibig sabihin ng are tied? Magkatali. Nakita mo ba sila na tinali? Di ba hindi? Di ba? Yung ginawa pa ng isa, sir, paano po yung tied up? Yung tied up nga, mas masama yan. Mas tinali mo yan. Di ba? So they are tied together. Kasi yung tie, sa Filipino translation, parehas. Yun yung ibig sabihin sa atin, they are tie. It's a tie. Di ba? Sabi nga. So you need to use the sentence na mas academic basahin. For example, the population who wears jeans and jackets are similar with 24%. So, tingnan pa natin yung mga sample sentences. So you have the percentage of females and males who studied languages at university were very similar. The figures were 20% for the former and 19% for the latter. So when you say former, ito si former. Tapos when you say latter, ito naman si latter. The figures were, sulat ko ha, 20% for the former and 19% for the latter. Ibig sabihin ng former, yung una mong nabanggit, which is in this case female, si latter, yun yung huli mong nabanggit, and in this case, si males. So useful din po yan kasi para maiwasan yung pag-ulit ng male-female, ano lang ba naman ang pwede nating ipalit dyan? Men-women, di ba? Or genders. So excessive repetition, alam natin ang magiging problem, vocabulary. A similar amount of gas and electricity at around 20% was used in homes. Second sentence, tama rin po yan. Okay, a similar amount. The percentage of females who studied at university in 2011 was almost exactly the same as in 2012 at 14% for both timestamps. Pwede yan. That's how you write your sentences properly if you are trying to show similarities. Okay? Other expressions and vocabularies respectively. So in this case, pwede natin gamitin yung respectively. Tingnan niyo pong mabuti ha. For men, the proportion of treatment admissions rose from 1.8% in 1998 to 8.1% a decade later. For women, those figures were 3.5% and 13.3% respectively. So sa hindi pa po nakakaalam kung paano gamitin yung former, latter, at saka respectively, eto siya ha. Bigyan ko kayo ng isa pang example na mas madadalian kayo. Sige, wag ito. Baka mas malito eh. Example ha. Kevin and Nico aren't just my classmates. They are the former is my brother while the latter is my cousin. So in this scenario, ang pinapoint out natin dyan, si Kevin and Nico daw, they are not they are not, let's say, Jamie's classmates lang. Si Kevin, iguhitan natin ito ng red. Okay, ito yung nauna. So siya yung magkakaroon ng former brother. Ngayon, si Nico naman, siya yung sumunod. Siya ngayon yung latter. Ano siya? Siya yung cousin. Now, sir, paano naman kung mas higit pa sa dalawa? Bawa, Kevin, Nico, and Mark aren't just my classmates. They, my brother, cousin, and uncle, respectively. Tingnan natin mabuti ha. Kevin, Nico, and Mark aren't just my classmates. They are my brother, cousin, and uncle, respectively. So pag sinabi mo kasing respectively, it means in that particular order. So si Kevin, siya yung nauna, siya yung brother. Si Nico, siya yung sumunod, siya yung cousin. And then si Mark, siya yung last, siya naman yung uncle. So yun yung paggamit ng respectively. Okay. So we use respectively to clarify what statistics or numbers we are referring to. Respectively, used like this is saying in this order, this term should always be used for parallel lists, like two lists with the same number of items, where every item in the first list corresponds to the item in the same position in the second. If respectively comes in the middle of a sentence, it should be both preceded and followed by a comma. So yung respectively, mostly, to be safe, nilalagay ko yan sa huli to avoid comma splices, because excessive use of commas kasi sa isang sentence, it means comma splices or too much cutting points. So we don't do that very often kasi, because that's also going to be a grammatical liability. So sa mga pie charts, you can use the words allocate to or for, comprise, compose of, make up, consist, account for, most specifically accounted for. They are very useful in your pie chart interpretation. At nandito na rin guys yung mga sample. The only thing that I want you guys to be careful about is with the use of your comprise at saka composed. Si comprise kasi, mauuna muna yung specific to general, while si compose kasi, mauuna naman si general, and then tsaka pa lang yung specific. So hindi po parehas yan, hindi nyo siya pwedeng gamitin interchangeably. So tinan nyo ha, comprise. Women muna and children, sila yung specific details, comprise 70% of hospital patients. Now look at compose. Concrete is composed. Si concrete, yun yung end product composed of cement, sand, and gravel mixed with water. Sir, pwede ko bang pagpalitin yung dalawa na yan? Tulad ng sabi ko, hindi po pwede. Except kung susundin natin itong specific to general, general to specific na instruction. So paano? Tingnan nyo ha. Si compose gagamitin ko dito. Sorry. Si comprise gagamitin ko dito. Okay. Cement, sand, and gravel mixed with water. In this case ha, inuna ko po muna yung specific, comprise, concrete. So that's the thing. Cement, sand, and gravel mixed with water comprise concrete. Dahil inuna ko yung cement, sand, and gravel mixed with water, kaya comprise po yung ginamit ko. Sir, nalilito po ako. Ang sakit na po ng ulo ko. 1.5 oras na po tayo nag-aaral. Ang natitira na lang po na MB ng ulo ko ay 2 MB na lang po. Yan. Hindi na po GB, sir. 2 MB. Tsaka sir, may edad na po ako. 4 na po yung anak ko. Mahirap na po tandaan yung mga words na yan. Kasi if you guys will be using comprise and compose, opposite, mali yung dinidistinguish mo na point. Diba? So, kaya naman, nag-i-exist si consist. Si consist, walang rule. Pwedeng mauna, concrete, consists of cement, sand, and gravel mixed with water. Women and children consist 70% of the hospital's patient. This group consists of men, women, and children. Men, women, and children consists this group. O kung ang problema mo is mahina kang tumanda, mahina kang mag-memorize, ito ang solusyon, si consist. Wala ka excuse na magkamali. Sa overview, isa lang pong ginagamit natin overall, and that's it. So academic, did you guys learn a lot sa ating first part of the lesson? Guys, questions? Wala ba kayong questions? GT, huwag kayong mag-alala, wala kayong pagdadaanan na ganitong kahirap. Sabi ko sa inyo, a-attendan nyo lang. GT, letter, writing, pati mga sentence, kung paano mag-construct, pati mga iba't ibang sitwasyon, ano yung pwede mong gamitin na word, ako nang bahala. May template ka na, susundin mo na lang yan. So, akad lang po ang problemado talaga sa ganitong area. So, now, we are here at vocabularies in writing task 2. Before we continue guys inom lang ako napakabilis ng water and then return tayo after a minute. Okay? So kung may mga questions kayo sa previous session natin, pwede nyo po sa aking itanong as soon as I return. Okay? So I'll just be getting my water and taking, let's say, a 2-minute break. Mapakabilis lang. Inom lang ako saglit, pasok ako agad. Okay, we're back. Told you guys it's going to be very quick. So we're done with the vocabularies of writing task 1, academic module. This will also be helpful in your writing task 2. So I am glad that GT also joined us with the discussion a while ago. Now we're here in vocabularies and writing task 2. Many people will ask me, especially the ones who already have an experience of attending my discussion sa mga previous writing tasks natin, task 2 to be specific. Agree, disagree, discuss both views, open-ended. They will tell me, sir, ang galing mo naman mag-construct. Ang bilis mo. Na nakakatapos ako 17 minutes writing task 2. The fastest I did was 14 minutes live kung tinype. You know, guys, the key is not in the duration of how long I was teaching IELTS. It's actually about the vocabulary, the proper way of playing with the words, how you will arrange the word so that you will be using it entirely for its purpose. Sa madaling sabi, kung paano mo siya aayusin sa paraan na gusto mong maibigay yung punto na nais mong i-explain doon sa essay. And this is going to be very useful. Tuturuan ko kayo kung ano yung mga technique para makapag-come up kayo ng effective expressions, useful arguments without exerting that much effort. Making general statements. When do we generalize ideas in writing? Well, there are two areas in your essay where generalizations are expected, and they are both in the introduction and the concluding paragraph. Okay, so both in the introduction And in the concluding paragraph, you need to make general statements. So what will be the starters? What will be the phrases that you can use to make general statements? Generally, diba? Generally, people today move to new cities and new countries more than ever before. In general, students learn more by using computers rather than going to the library. For the most part, parents enroll their children to school because they aim to educate their children. That is why learning values and virtues are only secondary to this primary concern. Diba? So nakaka-generalize ka ng idea just by using the words here. Now, if you want to give arguments in your essay, you need to also point out that there are reasons why. So you need to answer the question why, particularly in opinion-based questions. And in opinion-based questions, there are three. You have the agree, disagree. To what extent do you think the advantages outweigh the disadvantages? In most cases, you will also give your opinion and discuss both views, particularly if you are in the concluding paragraph, and most specifically in open-ended, you will also be giving your recommendations that will require an insight of your own. So in opinion-based questions, it is very useful to utilize something like this. The main reason, let's say, ang tanong mo, ang tanong natin is, many people go abroad to work, discuss the causes and effects, and talk about the solutions to overcome the problems that migrants encounter when they go abroad. So syempre, unahin ko muna yung main reason bakit sila nag-abroad. So introduction is done. Gumamit ako ng word dito. So doon ako sa first idea. So the main reason why people go abroad to either study or work is because the education and job opportunities in other countries are better. Nakuha? Diba? Nakapag-generate ako ng idea na ang linaw na pasok doon sa theme na hindi ako masyadong nahihirapan. Ang gusto ko lang sabihin ba't pa nag-a-abroad ang mga tao? So I need to answer the question why. Paano ko sisimulan? The main reason. The main reason why people study and work abroad is because the education, pasok kay study, and job opportunities, pasok kay work, is superior compared to their home country. O isa pa, the most important consideration why people go abroad is because, diba? Ang haba ng sentence. Now, for those people na nakapagpa-check na ng writing, alam niyong galit na galit ako dyan. Sa first of all, firstly, secondly, thirdly, finally, galit na galit ako dyan. Why? Because 2018 pa lang. 2018 pa lang po. That was when? 4 years ago? 2018 pa lang, nabanggit na yan ng mga examiner sa kanilang workshop, ayaw namin ng first of all. Ayaw namin ng firstly, ayaw namin ng secondly, thirdly, fourthly. Bakit? Parang binibilangan nyo na lang kami. O kaya naka-red tag na to, si first of all. Ibig sabihin, hindi nyo na yan gagamitin. So bakit nilagay ko pa dyan? Because meron ako mga students na nag-enroll, re-enroll. Some of my students right now were once my students in 2017, 2018 pa. So most probably, baka hindi na nila naabutan, na ibinawal ito. Kaya naka-indicate pa rin yan dito sa lecture ko. So malinaw po tayo ha, pag may nagsulat pa ng first of all at saka firstly sa essay nyo, ewan ko na lang. Tigas ng ulo, mga Pinoy talaga, ano? Alright. Sir, I have another reason. Let's say this is the main reason why people go abroad. But also another reason. Let's say the main reason why people go abroad is because of the job opportunities that they can get from their own work improvements, di ba? May isa pang reason, pera. Ba't ba kayo mag-a-abroad? Ba't ba kayo nag-a-IELTS para mag-ibang bansa? Bakit? Kasi sa Pilipinas, ang sahod mo sa isang araw, minimum wage nasa 485. Sa Manila, nasa more than 500. If you are belonging in the professional category, mga nasa 750 pesos ang iyong salary. So let's say sabihin mo may mga iba ka pang sideline, pero you're just earning no more than 2,500 pesos a day. So obviously that's pretty high. Mataas na yon. 2,500 pesos a day is extremely high if you compare it with the general population. But if you compare, guys, the salary abroad, nurses who work in public hospitals in the Philippines can earn as much as 40,000 pesos. O nurses, bago kayo umalma, sir, hindi naman ganyan sinasahod namin. Sa manabalitaan niya, sana all, di ba? It is according to the different government websites. So, maaaring may mga naikaltas, maaaring may mga loans, mga SSS, mga ganyan. So, pwedeng bumaba yan. But in general, this is the salary of nurses in public hospitals. Of course, private hospitals would be a different scenario, okay? So, 40K, if you work in the UK as a nurse, okay, you can earn as much as 107,000 pesos a month. If you work in Australia, New Zealand, the salary could go as high as 230,000 pesos a month. And this 230,000 is just 2-week salary for nurses who are eyeing a USRN. So definitely, malaki. Di ba? Para bang giant yung salary. Just ito, ang liit-liit lang if you compare your salary now. So salary. Di ba? Another reason why people or why individuals, tapos ka nang gumamit ng people, o individuals ka naman, why many individuals are interested in being employed in first world countries is due to the fact that they offer much more competitive salaries. For example, ibigay mo example yung sahod ng nurse sa Philippines at maaring sahurin ng isang nurse sa ibang bansa. Sa puntong yon, na gets nung nagbabasa, oo nga, ang sabi niya dito, salary. Competitive salary. Kinumpara, dito sa home country, Philippines, 40K. Mas mababa pa pag private. Nagbigay ka ng example, specific yon, Philippines. Nagbigay ka ng example, paano kung magtatrabaho ka in the US? What about in the UK? 40K will be doubled. So, you're giving the point. Okay, now, obviously, nanggaling ka sa positive, nasa discuss both views ka, for example, magbibigay ka rin ng negative. So gagamit ka ng mga on the other hand to begin your next sentence. However, guys, be careful dito sa despite at saka in spite of, ha. Si despite, hindi mo siya nilalagyan ng of. Ang meron lang of ay si in spite of. Ano yung despite? Diretso lang. Despite the advantages of hosting an international competition in one's home country, there are also negative effects to the nation. On the contrary, in contrast, all right? So gumamit ka ng mga yan. So sir, okay lang bang gumamit ako ng on the one hand at saka on the other hand? Guys, listen to me, ha. Si on the one hand at saka si on the other hand, similar yung format niya. What I mean to say is, kung paano binuo si on the one hand, ganoon din si on the other hand. So ano yun? On the one hand, on the other hand, on the left foot, on the right foot, in my head, di ba? So nagsabi ka lang sana ng limbs mo. So hindi. Kaya naman, mas madalas ginagamit si on the other hand at hindi ko sinasuggest na gumamit ng on the one hand. Listen to that carefully. Alright? Si nevertheless, nonetheless, mahahabang words yan. So I don't recommend them. Tingnan nyo naman, ang hirap i-spell out. Oh. Ang hirap niyang i-spellingin. Sir, what about, hindi ako magdadagdag lang basta. Let's say, nasa idea lang ako. First cause, magdadagdag ako ng isa pang cause. So furthermore, moreover, in addition to that, additionally. So you can use other words to add ideas. Giving example. Tingnan niyo po I will be, okay, I'll be highlighting this muna. Ko-cover ko lang muna ito para makapagsulat ako ng mas maayos. Puti. Give me white. Ayan. So let's say this is a typical agree-disagree essay. So you have the introduction with Stan. And then you have the body paragraph 1, reason 1. Same goes with the other, body paragraph 2, body paragraph 3, and then conclusion. Ngayon, for every body paragraph, maglalagay ka ng example to prove that your point is valid. Diba? So, kailangan may resibo ka. Kailangan meron kang patunay. Kailangan meron kang pruweba. So, gusto mo magbigay ng pruweba, magbibigay ka ng example. So, paano ka magsisimula sa pagbibigay ng example? For example, ngayon, pupunta ka sa body paragraph 2, hindi pwedeng for example na naman. Bakit? Nagamit mo na yun dun eh. What are we talking about ba today? We are discussing about vocabulary. If you will be repeating the words from other paragraphs, that will be repetitive. It will be regarded as repetition and you will not get high marks for it. So, for example, pwede mong palitan ng for instance. Ngayon, for instance, gagamit ka na naman ng isang example sentence, mag-to illustrate ka naman. In that way, nagkaroon ka ng variations doon sa words na gagamitin mo sa pagbibigay ng example. Alright, sir, gagamitin daw po yun ng classmates ko. O gumamit ka ng like. There are many schools in the Philippines like the University of the Philippines. So, example yan. O ano pa? Such as, namely, mga pagbibigay din yan ng example. Diba? Specifically, ano pa? In particular. Ngayon, for example, gusto mo mas mahaba, ayun no? A clear example of this is, naka-anim na word ka agad. Mabilis mong ma-achieve ang more than 250 words because you are using phrases that contains more words intelligently. So good job on that. So ganun dapat ang pagsusulat. All right. Now, you're giving reason, dahilan. Let's say you mentioned that the internet is better in giving information to the people. Ngayon, kailangan natin ngayon ng argument. Why? So, paano ka magpapaliwanag? Simulan mo with this. The reason for this is that the websites are easily accessible with the use of handheld devices such as cell phones and laptops. O, pahabain mo pa. Dito ka naman. There are different reasons why people claim that internet is more convenient than going to the library. To illustrate, websites can be accessed anywhere with the use of handheld devices like cell phones, instead of physically traveling to a library that only operates from 8 in the morning until 5 p.m. in the afternoon. O, di ba? So yung pa lang, malaman na ang sentence mo. Hindi mo masyadong pinapahirapan yung sarili mo because you have words to help you out. There are several explanations for people migrating from rural areas to urban districts. And one of these is the convenience that city life has to offer. O paano mo namang nasabi na convenient ang city life? To illustrate, urban places like Metro Manila, hindi na tayo lalayo, have more hospitals, universities, and shopping malls than in rural regions. Ano bang meron sa university, sa shopping malls, at saka sa hospitals? Basic needs. So yung basic needs ng mga tao, mas namimit dahil nakatira sila sa city. Dahil pagbaba ng bahay mo, ayun na ang shopping mall. Pagbaba ng bahay mo, ayun na yung university. Pagbaba mo ng bahay mo, ayun na yung ospital. Eh pag nandito ka sa probinsya, saan ka pa mag-aaral? Punta ka pa ng, sasakay ka pa ng bus, lalayo ka pa. Diba? Let's say, Gapan City ako, nag-aaral ako sa Wesleyan, I need to travel by bus. Diba? Kailangan ko pa rent ng apartment for 4 years, tapos ang layo pa ng bahay. Diba? It's very inconvenient na lumayo pa. But in city living, ang lapit ng lahat. Very convenient, napaka-accessible ng lahat. So yun yung gusto mong ibigay, i-point na idea. At nagawa mo yon through the help of the words here. Nakukuha? Now, if you are in the last paragraph, we call that the concluding paragraph. Gumagamit tayo ng in conclusion, in summary, to summarize. Okay na ako sa to sum up, on the whole, at saka to conclude. Etong si finally kasi, again, tulad ng sabi natin, firstly, secondly, thirdly, finally, wag nang gumamit ng mga ganong counters. As a result, etong conclusion na to, ginagamit natin yan sa body. So panghuli, okay ito. Therefore, sa pandulo ng iyong sentence, sa pandulo ng iyong paragraph, okay din ito. So para sa conclusion, in summary, to sum up, to summarize, on the whole, to conclude. In general, at saka generally. All right. In conclusion, yan ang pinakamaganda. Comma, don't forget. All right. Stating your opinion. From my perspective, from my point of view, in my opinion. So as I've mentioned, you have 3 main types of opinion essay. They are your agree, disagree. To what extent do you think the advantages outweigh the disadvantages? Partially correct statement to some extent, to a certain degree. Somewhat agree, disagree. Hindi natin ginagamit to sa to what extent ha. So meron tayo ulit lecture sa to what extent. That was, I believe, 2 months ago. So I think it is only ripe na i-offer ulit natin si to what extent. So ang ginagamit kasi natin mostly is generally, for the most part, yun yung mga phrases na mas valid for to what extent. Now, other people's opinion. Kailangan ba to, sir? Yung other people's opinion? Kailangan yan. Saan kailangan ito? Sa introduction, pampahaba. Halimbawa, ang question mo, eto. Hosting international sporting events offers more benefits than disadvantages. Others say it is the opposite. Discuss both views and give your opinion. Yan yung example ha. So naibigay ko yan na sample sa ating replay March 25. So April ano pa lang ngayon? April 19. So medyo familiar pa yung iba dyan. So sa mga new enrollees, don't worry. Mako-cover din natin yan soon. Ano? So, how are you going to begin? So, di ba, simulan mo, saan ba nanggaling yung idea na to? Hindi sa iyo, hindi sa examiner, kung hindi sa problema ng society. So, may mga tao na nag-argue na ito ay nangyayari. So, many people, many individuals believe that some people believe. Palitan mo yung believe, pwede mo palitan ng argue, pwede mo palitan ng claim, pwede are of the opinion that. Some people are of the opinion that, ang gagamitin ko, pwede rin yung from the point of view of the public. Some individuals assert the fact that, pwede mo rin gamitin yan. So, some people are of the opinion that when a country or when their country hosts, organizes global competition, they will acquire positive outcomes. Meanwhile, some people kanina, many individuals claim that, so ginamit natin kanina yung organizing events. So pwede naman nating gamitin yung arranging such events can lead to more disadvantages. Some people are of the opinion that when their country organizes a global competition, they will acquire positive outcomes. Meanwhile, many individuals claim that arranging such events can lead to more disadvantages. So just by using the some people are of the opinion that, some people claim that, some people believe, yan. Pwede rin. Ito yung question ha. If we increase oil price, the environment will improve. Do you agree or disagree? Gamitin ko naman tong making a concession. It is sometimes argued that by increasing the price or cost, kanina yung price, of petrol products, oil, there will be positive results in ecological improvements. However, I find myself in disagreement with this notion. That's it. That's your introduction. So use the words appropriately so that you can come up with better presentation of ideas. Hindi lang po sa introduction ang tinuturo ko, pati sa body, pati sa conclusion, any part of the essay writing. Now, you also need to highlight advantages and disadvantages. So most definitely, you will be using words such as a major advantage of this is, another important merit is, for example, hosting international sports competition. A major advantage of hosting an international sports competition is the exposure of a country to other nations. Paliwanag mo. As a result, diba? Many individuals all over the world can see the beauty and hospitality of the host country. For example, when Philippines hosted the ASEAN, the Southeast Asian nations tuned in to watch the competitions, and they were amazed by the beauty of the places in the country. That's why the tourism industry improved significantly after the event. Diba? So ganon ang inyong pagsusulat. Paano naman, sir, yung disadvantage? Diba? There are some disadvantages to being the main organizer of sports competition, and that is the budget that will be used in putting up infrastructure and training for athletes. Many people argue that the budget could be repurposed for societal issues like poverty, education, and healthcare rather in just some limited event. Diba? So magbigay tayo ng example. Yung kasi mga infrastructure, nagagamit lang siya saglit for a year, pwede mo siyang gamitin pa for training. Pero yung purpose kasi niya, if you compare it what happened in London, in Brazil, yung kanilang mga infrastructure during their Olympics, hindi na siya nagagamit dahil yung purpose niya is pangsaglit lang. At syempre, may maintenance fee yun dahil wala ka ng sponsorships, wala ka ng exposure, wala ka na nakukuha na bayad. Although pwede pa rin pagpraktisan ng mga athletes, but hindi siya ganun ka-convenient since kailangan pa nila mag-travel ng napakalayo. So yun. So yun yung disadvantage na ilalagay mo. Simulan mo with, there are some disadvantages too. Okay. To emphasize, madalas kong ginagamit ito, si absolutely, tsaka si indeed. Diba? Indeed, the internet is a very convenient way of learning. Absolutely. When people use technology properly, there will be advantages. What about comparing an option over the other? Diba? Halimbawa, internet versus library. O, wag naman yun. Baka sabihin niyo, puro yun na lang yung tanong ni Sir Kevin. Let's say, face-to-face classes or physical education compared to distance learning. Diba? The assertion that face-to-face classes is better seems to offer strong arguments against distance learning. Diba? Ang nilagay mo lang dito, yung isang view, nilagay mo dito yung isang view, pero maganda yung kinalabasan because you used these words. You used this phrase to be specific. The assertion that traditional schooling seems to offer strong arguments against distance learning. Doon sa introductory statements natin kanina na some people believe, some people argue, pwedeng mo rin gamitin ito para may sarili kang version. It is often claimed that The internet is better in terms of learning than going to the library. People are convinced that when their country organizes sporting events, there will be benefits for the host. Some people also argue that, some people assert that, some point out that, some people state that. So wag lang puro people, gumamit ka rin ng individuals. Okay? So, synonyms ng advantages. So you have benefits. Para naman sa disadvantage, you have drawbacks and downsides. Para sa good and bad, positive, negative, favorable, unfavorable, desirable, undesirable, beneficial, detrimental. Synonyms for causes, you have factors, issues, factors behind, issues behind, reasons behind, factors, issues, responsible for. Yan, so pwedeng gamitin po yung mga phrases na ito. Example, do you think that the advantages outweigh the disadvantages? Many individuals claim that maintaining old establishments is favorable for a country to give importance to its heritage. However, many individuals also believe that there are undesirable outcomes because such materials can be harmful for the people. Pwede mo ring ilagay yon. So you are using ito, beneficial, positive, favorable, unfavorable. Gamitin yan sa mga essay niyo. So ito pa yung mas marami. Hindi ko na isa-isahin, basahin nyo na lang yan. So collocations. So when you say collocations, this will be the replacement ng phrase. So pwede mong gamitin instead of a synonym, lalo na kung wala ka nang maisip na synonym to replace the word with, you can use collocation, which is the word that are normally seen together. Kaya nga ko, pag sabing ko, together, magkasama. So si immediate, mostly kasama niyan si cause. Immediate cause. Unforeseen outcome. Unforeseen circumstances. Ayan. So, ito guys yung mga sentences and phrases that will help you out. Understand the collocations much better when you read them. Ito pa yung mga cause verbs. Si cause, it's direct. Si bring about, pwedeng positive, pwedeng negative. Tignan nyo yung positive ng bring about. The discovery of X-rays brought about a revolution, a transformation in medical science. The events brought about downfall or collapse of the government. So both positive and negative ideas, you can use bring about. Si create naman, it's not going to be changes. Rather, it presents situations and feelings. Pwede siya sa positive like this. The government's campaign helped create awareness. This is positive. Compared to your presence in the committee is creating problems. Negative. Use of the word create. What about sudden and often negative spark off? So, tingnan natin yung two samples ng negative na yon. The announcement sparked off riots, demonstrations in the cities. His wife's absence sparked off rumors in the media. And you also have reactions from people, attract. So of course, attract is going to be either good or bad, like attracted a lot of criticisms or attracted support. Now, produce has a variable effect. Pag sabing produce, nag-generate, my comments produce the opposite effect to what I had intended, and his research has not yet produced any results. So, yun po yung mga collocations ng cause at saka ng effect. So, we're done with writing. I hope you guys learned a lot in writing. So we will now be proceeding with the vocabularies in speaking if you guys don't have any questions dun sa previous na diniscuss ko. If you have questions, guys, you better ask me now para mabilis po tayo. You can send a message po sa chat. You can unmute yourself right away. Pwede po. You're allowed to unmute yourself. You're allowed to open your cameras if you want to. Wala pong problema sa akin yan. Mga estudyante kayo ha. So, gawin natin interactive ang klase. Tanong po tayo. Come on. Wala. Napakatumal naman. Ano ba guys? Tapos na yung Biyernes Santo, di ba? Ba't ang lalungkot nyo? Sabi ni na Mark Ian Crisostomo, none so far, sir. Mark Ian, new enrollee ka ba? Ngayong week ka lang ba pumasok? Or dati ka pang student? Last week attended 2 sessions, sir. Okay. So vocabularies in speaking, diba? Let's talk about speaking vocabulary. Discourse markers. So many people are not very familiar with the discourse markers in speaking. I just want to explain that there is a huge difference in formality of language use in writing and speaking. So simplihan natin. Kay writing, ayan. Writing, formal. Kay speaking, hindi ko sinasabing informal, less formal. Yung tinatawag nating respectful, casual. Okay, because this can guarantee a more natural way of responding to questions. So of course, most of the vocabulary deficiencies that students encounter is due to lack of practice, lack of exposure to the English language. So if you are not yet practicing doing the one-on-one speaking, my suggestion is that you watch English interviews. Problema kasi, ang mga pinapanood nyo, mga K-drama, ayan. Mga pinapanood, mga anime. Arigato na, di ba? So, paano magkakaintindihan yan? Paano ka gagaling sa English if you're watching something that is not English? So, I'm not saying na i-hate mo si K-drama, i-hate mo si anime. I love anime, di ba? But you need to watch something that will help you improve in the use of language. So watch English interviews po. So if you will be comparing writing and speaking, writing is more formal, kaya formal ang ginagamit nating discourse markers dyan. So ano pa yung mga formal discourse markers mga? However, on the other hand, meanwhile, mga ganyan. What else? Additionally, yung mga words na yan, ginagamit natin yan sa writing because they are formal, for formality. But in speaking, you will be using a less formal but respectful words pa din. Sabi ni Mariel, need to drop na da. Okay, no worries. Bye-bye, Mariel. All right, watch mo na lang yung replay. So let me continue vocabularies in speaking. So you will be using a much more natural. So hindi ka gagamit ng mga however. Gamit ka lang ng mga but. Diba? Gagamit ng mga in addition. Gamit ka lang ng mga to as well. And pwede na yan. Diba? People are convinced that television would be gone in the future. And my opinion about this matter is that it might happen due to the fact that napaka-formal, hindi ganun ang speaking. Diba? So, think of it as a conversation between you and a friend. But this friend is a person that you need to impress in terms of language use. I'm not saying you need to impress with your answer, ha? You need to impress with the use of language, with the use of your arguments. Okay? So ang gagamitin lang na language dito ay simple yet elegant. Diba? Huwag na gumamit ng mga pang-araw-araw tulad ng good, bad, happy, sad. Diba? Gumamit ka naman ng good, beneficial. Bad, detrimental. Happy, joy. Sad, down, blue. So you can use some phrases to help you out as well. So pumunta na tayo. Ano ba yung mga useful discourse markers natin for speaking? So we have thankfully. Thankfully. For example, the examiner asks you, Kevin, when was the last time you went out with your friends? My answer is something like this. Well, the last time I went out with my friends was really a disaster. Wait a minute, sir. I thought bawal po kaming gumamit ng negative na discussions. Kasi mostly, we want to give the examiner a positive experience. Paano magiging positive experience kung puro nega? Kung puro mga problema ang kukwento mo sa kanya? For example, are you working or studying? I'm working. You know, my job is a nurse. It's really stressful. I work at Dr. Paulina J. Garcia Memorial Research and Medical Center. And my colleagues, they always like to gossip. Hindi ganun. So you need to always look at the bright side. Diba? Laging kaplastikan po si speaking. Are you working or are you studying? I'm currently working as a nurse at Dr. Paulina J. Garcia Memorial Research and Medical Center for 5 years now. Even though my job is difficult because I need to care for patients who have COVID, I am still very passionate about helping people become healthier once again. O diba? Napaka-plastic. O, ganun ang speaking. Plastikan lang. Oh, so sir, akala ko ba bawal ang negative? Bakit dito was really a disaster? Kasi may twist yan, don't worry. Because we were supposed to watch a concert which got canceled. And thankfully, we got a refund on our tickets. May ending pa rin na happy sa huli. My company was offering the chance to work in different places without me spending a single centavo. Naturally, I didn't want to miss such a wonderful opportunity. Kevin, you mentioned that you worked as a flight attendant before you practice your nursing profession. Why? Well, my company then, Philippine Airlines, was offering the chance to work in different places without me spending a single centavo. Naturally, I didn't want to miss such a wonderful opportunity. And because the salary is very competitive at the moment, so I grabbed it. And it is a decision that I have not been disappointed ever since. Luckily. So when was the last time we went out for a walk? It started to rain heavily yesterday when I went out for a walk with my dog. Luckily, I remembered to bring my umbrella. That's why we went home quickly and didn't get wet in the process. Unfortunately, in fact, so pwede mo rin gamitin yan sa iyong speaking. Useful expressions, expressing opinions. Tatanungin ka ng examiner about your experience. Let's say, Kevin, talk about an embarrassing experience you encountered. Diba? So, I was very sleepy back in 2013, my last year of studying college, because I need to work on my thesis and at the same time, I need to do my duties in the hospital. So when my teacher called me about what my answer to the question, I forgot what the question was. I wasn't able to respond to her. And for me, that was the most embarrassing experience I had. Nagkukwento ka. In my view, personally, I feel I would say that it depends on, so gagamitin po yung mga phrases na to if examiners ask about your opinions. Diba? Kevin, what is your opinion about products today? Do you think that the products of today are more durable than the products of the past? Well, personally, the products today are mass-produced much quicker because there's a tendency for companies to use cheaper materials and faster production techniques. In the process, the quality becomes less. That is why, in my opinion, the quality of products were better in the past compared today. So ganun lang ang sagot. General opinions. Here are some phrases that you can use to talk about what people think generally. Kevin, in your country, why do you think people like to go to noisy places, even though noise can be really annoying? Well, I've heard that noisy places, specifically in the Philippines, are where the shops, the banks, and malls are. And even though people get annoyed by noises easily, and those places I've mentioned are extremely noisy, people still go there because they need to do something in that location. For example, they need to have a photocopy of something, they need to apply for a bank loan. So even though those places can be really noisy and annoying, people have no choice but to go there. Example lang yan. Impression or phrases. Let's say examiners will ask you about your opinion of what do you want to recommend. Tatanungin kayo, book, TV show, song, a line from a poem, a story, a bedtime story that you remember that you would like to share to others. Diba? So ito yung mga words that can be useful. Talking about the future. So examiners will also be asking you about what you think will happen in the future if things go as they seem. For example, many young people today do not seem to respect the old members of their family. Do you think that it will still happen? Pwede mong sabihin, unfortunately, because it is becoming a trend for young people to disrespect the elderlies. If we do not do something about it, then it can even continue even in the future. So it is highly probable that many young people will still not respect the old members of their families if the government and the parents will not be doing something about it. I think that there are a couple of things that can be done. The good morals and right conduct subject must be reintroduced in school, but that is not enough. I think that it must be in tandem with how parents should raise their kids. So together, this trend of not respecting the elderly can be stopped. So that's how you answer, using the phrases here. Yeah. Tatanong kasi yung mga examiners sa future. Suggestions. So Kevin, what are your suggestions about this? Okay. Kevin, many people are becoming victims of fake news. What are your suggestions? I think that for people to avoid being victimized of fake news online, it should be both a personal responsibility and a governmental policy. First, the government and the application, like the most common ones, Google and Facebook, should screen what news are there to just make people believe something that are not really true. And the second thing is that people should think, what are the signs of a news online that are guaranteed fake? For example, if they tend to be catchy, if they tend to have clickbaits in them. So people need to be careful, but the government and the applications need to also do something so that fake news can be eradicated. Expressions of time, tatanungin ka ng examiner sa past, sa future, sa plans, sa experiences. So you need to make good use of time expressions. Examiners will also want you to express your likes and dislikes. So you can use I love. Kevin, do you like traveling? I love traveling. For me, traveling offers a new experience. So I am always working inside a four-corner room. So the opportunity to see something else is really what I look forward to. That's why I tell myself every quarter of the year, I need to travel someplace new. So that's why I think traveling is an amazing experience that many people should explore. What about reading books? Do you like reading books? I'm really keen into reading books. As a matter of fact, I have finished the Lord of the Rings series, and I have just bought the Gunslinger series of Stephen King. And if I'm not going to be busy next month, perhaps I might be able to start on it. What about comedy shows? Have you watched a comedy show? I think a comedy show would be amazing. However, I haven't watched any comedy, stand-up comedy programs yet. That's why I'm looking forward, because I believe it is going to be a lot of fun. Ganun lang. Sabi ni Mark Ian Crisostomo, Sir, sa speaking, okay lang po ba gumamit ng mga cliche? Ayan na. Yung mga cliche, Ian Crisostomo, no? Ayan, tulad ng mga, health is wealth. Time is gold. At mamahalin kita habang buhay. Yan. Yung mga yan, cliche. Ibig sabihin ng cliche, paulit-ulit, nakakasawa, walang laman. No, ibig sabihin, they are empty words. So do you think examiners would be impressed with a phrase that they constantly hear everywhere? Of course not. So pag sabi natin cliche, pati yung idiomatic expression. Halimbawa ng idiomatic expression is hitting two birds with one stone, see red, paint the town red. Yan, yung mga ganyan. Nagtanong yung isang student sa akin, ha. Ibibigay ko sa inyo yung ebidensya. Eto, may ebidensya ako. Guys, lagi kayong hahanap ng ebidensya, pruweba, ha. Huwag kayong papaniwala sa mga bagay-bagay. So, tingnan natin chat. Like comedy show, laughter is the best medicine. Well, Mark Ian, yung laughter is the best medicine, it wouldn't hurt if you will use it in its proper context. But eto ang gusto kong sabihin sa inyo, ha. Hindi po kailangan ng mga phrases na ganyan, honesty is the best policy, laughter is the best medicine, it's raining cats and dogs. Hindi na po kailangan. Okay, I am scrolling through my students' message sa akin, ha. Pumasa siya last year. Ayan. Overall 6.5, listening 6.5, reading 6.5, writing 6.5, speaking 7. Eksaktong-eksakto para sa US. So, tingnan niyo yung sabi niya. Ayan. Sabi niya, okay, Sir, okay, Happy New Year. Thank you for all your help and tips po. Tama nga po, no need for idioms. Kasi nagpipilit siya before. Sabi niya, Sir, sabi po kasi ng pinsan ko, kailangan ng idioms. Tulad ng laughter is the best medicine. Sir, sabi po ng isa naming coach, dapat daw pong gumamit ng mga idiomatic expressions. Sabi po nung isa, sabi nung kanya, doon ka na mag-enroll, sabi ko sa kanila. Doon na kayo makinig. I had students, Mark Ian, mga estudyante ko, nasa 6,000 na. Lahat na naging estudyante ko, 6K. Never nilang narinig sa akin na kailangan ng idioms, kailangan ng mga colorful expressions na gano'n. Never nilang narinig sa akin na kailangan gumamit ng cliche. Anong score na nakukuha nila? 7 or higher. Ang dami ko nakaka-8, nakaka-9 lately. And most of them, kailangan lang nila ng 7. 7 is something that we would be okay with. But, getting an 8 or 9 are still the goal. But if, take it from me, Mark Ian Crisostomo, hindi po kailangan. Ang haba-haba nung sinabi ko para lang sa simpleng hindi kailangan nun dahil kailangan kong ipaliwanag sa inyo bakit hindi kailangan nun at nasaan ang pruweba, nandito. Sa lahat ng thank you, lahat ng congratulations na meron ako sa estudyante ko, nagpapasalamat sila dahil sinunod nila ako. Dahil wala akong ibang hiling kundi ang magsipasa kayo. Susundin nyo lang lahat ng tinuturo ko. Yun lang. Were you satisfied with my answer, Mark Ian? Or do I need to give you another sample? So Mark Ian gave me a thumbs up and yes sir, okay na okay. So let me continue with my discussion. So sample collocation. So may collocation din tayo sa speaking. Ito kasi mga samples ko dito, medyo complicated. So wag niyo siya masyadong gamitin. Like what I suggest, mas okay na hindi templated yung speaking, mas okay na ito ay natural, pero hindi naman sa lahat ng pagkakataon, natural na natural lang. For example, kahapon, I was impressed with a student that I did a one-on-one coaching with sa speaking. Kasi sinunod niya, sabi ko, paghandaan niyo naman yung mga common questions na what is your name? Are you working or are you studying? Tsaka do you live in a house or in an apartment? So, kailan nyo matututunan paano sumagot ng mga ganong questions sa speaking? Speaking skills enhancement, content speaking, antayin nyo yung live lecture, or perhaps kung magkakaroon tayo ng replay lecture nun, pakiabangan kasi 3 oras yon i-discuss paano lang yung speaking. Iikot lang yun dun sa speaking. So right now, hindi to tungkol sa tinuturuan ko kayo paano sumagot sa questions. Tinuturuan ko kayo paano gumamit ng words so that your answers will become effective in the process. Pero yung mga words kasi na nandito ay medyo complicated. Hindi siya ganun kadaling gamitin. So ang sinasuggest ko is use words that you can speak more natural. Okay, use words that you can speak more natural. Yun lang. Tulad ng mga yan. So, that's it. That will be the end of our lecture today. So, do you guys have any questions bago tayo magtapos? Sabi ni Donna, wala po. Actually, wala kayong tanong. Pero ako meron eh. Oo, ako meron akong tanong. So what we will do here today, I'm sharing with you right now itong aking folder. Ito pong folder na to, yan, lahat na nakikita nyo na yan. Ito yung aking PowerPoint, ito yung handout, ito yung exercise, ito yung answer key. Hindi ko bibigay sa inyo yung answer key. Ito yung exercise. Magkakaroon po kayo ng short quiz. After po ng aking discussion, ipopost ko ito sa group, sa Facebook group at saka sa Discord. So ganito lang oh. Choose the correct preposition from the box to complete the sentences below. The increase blank car use. So the increase of car use, the increase to car use, the increase for from, the increase in ang sagot dyan. So lagay nyo lang po yung tamang sagot. And then we have here accuracy in vocabulary involves using the most appropriate words. Nakikita ba? Palagi ko hindi. Sige, ito. Crisel, ayan. Crisel, ikaw yung kinoach ko kagabi. Talaga sobrang natutuwa ako kasi sinunod mo lahat ng tinuro ko. Ano? Yes, Crisel, update if the speaking test will be done through video call. Ako po mismo ang nag-book ng exam. Okay? Pero hindi po ako nagbabayad. Gumagamit tayo ng ibang credit card for that. Tapos nakalagay doon sa ating calendar, VC, which means video call. So expect natin na video call yon unless babaguhin nila. Tapos Diosdado T. Calderon Jr. Sir, yung writing assignments po. Diosdado, ano ba yan? Di ka ba tumitingin sa GC nyo? Di ka ba nagbabasa, Diosdado? Diosdado. Taga saan ka ba, Diosdado? Magkita nga tayo. At ako'y naiinis, Diosdado. Taga-saan ka? Sabi mo taga-saan ako napupunta sa inyo, Diosdado. Kakapasa ko pa lang po kanina. Talugtog. Di na kita pupunta, malayo pala. Saka di ko alam paano pumunta diyan. So yes, Crisel, sagutin ko lang video call. Diosdado, mag-usap tayo mamaya ha, kung nalilito ka dun sa inyong assignments. So guys, nakikita po yung aking screen. Share ko lang itong exercises po na gagawin nyo after ng ating discussion. Kasi gusto ko talaga sulit na sulit ang binayad nyo, no? Na nagkaklase na tayo, meron pa kayong exercise. Kinabukasan may klase tayo, meron ulit kayo exercise. Alright? So I want this to be very economical for you. Every peso counts, no? So accuracy in vocab involves using the most appropriate words. Improve your accuracy of the sentences below by replacing the underlined words with one of the nouns from the box. So papalitan lang daw natin. The number of traffic, hindi naman natin pwedeng gamitin yung the number of traffic on the road continues to increase. So dapat dyan, the amount of traffic. The diagram shows the way of making canned food. The diagram shows the method of making canned food. O, sinagutan ko na yung number 1 at saka number 2 ha. Hindi ako ang mag-aaral, hindi ako mag-exam kayo. So kayo magsasagot niyan. Tapos complete the description. So itong mga words na nandito, ilalagay nyo lang isa-isa dyan sa mga blanks na nandito. So ang dami naman naming assignment. Siyempre. Diba? Paano ko malalaman na natutunan nyo talaga? Kasi tatanong-tanong ako, do you understand? Sasabihin niya, I understood po. Tapos Facebook na mamaya. I-stock na naman yung X na pinagpalit siya sa mukhang Bisaya. Oh. So people in general, everyone, gamit ka ng mga synonyms. Okay. People in general, ayan, the general public. O, lagay mo. People at work, employees. Lagay mo dito. Workers, ayan. Itong individuals, ayan. People in power, di ba? National leaders, religious leaders. Ano pa? Representatives. Politicians. Specific groups, the old and young, teenagers, specific group, and voters, specific group, consumers, specific group. So ilalagay nyo lang po yan doon sa proper placement niya. Sir, ang dami naman. People with children. Palitan mo lang siya ng parents. So many people think governments only listen to the views of people during election campaigns. Ano ba tawag natin sa people during election campaigns? Candidates. Candidates. So yung papalitan mo dito. People with original business ideas, entrepreneurs. People design is influenced by views of the people who buy things, consumers. Yun naman po yung gagawin nyo dito sa part na to. And then dito, excited na ako sa quiz nyo. No? So we depend on oil, coal, and gas for the majority of our energy needs. However, oil, coal, and gas. So papalitan mo itong oil, coal, and gas with funding, method, system, technology, natural resources, facilities. So, however, these natural resources, okay, will one day run out. So, hahanap ka ng pamalit doon using the words from the box. And then exercise 4, choose the correct word. Advertisements provide vital revenue for the entertainment industry. Consequently, without adverts, we could lose certain forms of entertainment. Despite without adverts, so ang sagot dyan, consequently. Okay. Tapos ito, exercise 5, choose the appropriate vocabulary. So employees are always seeking ways to enhance their employees' blank productivity. And healthy pursuits may be one of achieving this. There are arguments on both sides which should be considered. Sabi dyan. On the one hand, it might be said that if workers are fitter and less stressed, their working time will be more efficient, leading to higher levels of, kanina, productivity, ngayon, output naman. Higher levels of outputs. Nalagay ko yun dito sa blank na to. Iyan. Ang saya-saya, di ba? Tapos dito naman, liking, disliking. So yun lang. The idea of traveling around the world really appeals to me. Yung appeal ba ay positive o negative word? O positive. Attracted to, bright lit, colorful displays? Positive yun. Can't stand me? Negative yun. Captivated by royal weddings? Positive yun. Bilugan nyo lang. And exercise number 2 naman, dun sa positive, negative. Use the words and phrases in bold to help you. These words will help you talk about cities or other destinations in IELTS speaking test. Okay, London is truly a cosmopolitan city. So i-match daw natin yung sentence sa second set ng sentence. A modern metropolis needs a good integrated transport system. Saan ba yung i-match? So match the sentence with the second set of sentences. Use the words and phrases in bold to help you. So cosmopolitan, metropolis. Tapos congestion, inner city, and breed crime. So yun lang, i-match nyo lang po yung mga bold na letters doon sa ating sentence. Okay, ito yan. For example, number 1, London is truly a cosmopolitan city. So hahanap tayo dito. Prices in London are particularly exorbitant. Sabihin ng cosmopolitan kasi and London are particularly exorbitant. Pag sinabing orbit hanggang doon, X means beyond, exorbitant means high prices. So cosmopolitan city, number 1, letter E ang ating sagot. Tapos number 2, a modern metropolis needs a good integrated transport system. Metropolis, nakalagay dyan. All right. Without them, they are unable to function properly as cities. So yan, ididikit nyo lang po yung proper na answer. So that's it. That's all about it dun sa inyo pong quiz. And I hope you guys are excited as I am right now because I will be posting the quiz after I upload the replay of this. So ipaprocess lang ito, siguro 20 minutes, 30 minutes na upload na to sa group, standby kayo. And then yung quiz, pwede nyo na siyang sagutan. Harap nyo yung phone or laptop, pwede kayo magsulat sa paper para mas madali. Hindi nyo na ipaprint. Sayang naman kasi papaprint nyo, hindi nyo naman na magagamit after nyo mag-exam. Diba? So you can use your gadget and a piece of paper and a pencil to help you out answer questions in your quiz. And by tomorrow, ipopost ko naman yung answer key. So yun lang po. Wala na po ba tayong mga tanong bago tayo magtapos? All right. Since most of you responded with none, I think I would take that as something na wala na kayong tanong talaga. I believe you. Good luck na lang sa inyong quiz kung wala na kayong tanong. Have a nice day, guys. God bless everyone and good luck. Bye-bye.